Hello everyone, this is Kat with Cat Night TV. Today we are playing Seduce Me, the Atomi. It's a visual novel. This is part 2. In part 1, our main character said goodbye to her grandfather and she learned that she inherited a large estate. As a reminder, this game is rated 16 plus. It doesn't really show any nudity or anything like that. I double checked, but some people may be offended by the allusion to sexual activity and things of that nature that might be in this novel. So just a heads up for those of you who might be, and we'll continue with the story. I shook my head to try and clear the sleepiness out of me to no avail. I really didn't get any sleep last night. It's already time to wake up? Wait, school. As soon as I realized I had to go to school, I slid out of bed and looked at the vanity mirror. That's a relief. Luckily, there was barely a bruise on my cheek. You had to squint to actually see it. I doubted anyone would actually notice it unless they leaned in really close. Breathing out a sigh, I got dressed, took my backpack, and caught the bus to go to school. It wasn't even hours before everyone heard of the news. I was approached in school and given condolences for my loss. However, that wasn't what shocked my friends.
Wait, so you have the whole Anderson house to yourself? Lucky as hell, man! Quit being so sensitive, Naomi.
Quit being so vulgar, Suzu.
They're both weird. Okay, Suzu's right, Naomi.
Of course you would side with her.
Ha! See? At least she knows how to have fun.
I know how to have fun. You don't need to be wild to have fun.
Guys, I'm going there after school today because my parents want me to get used to living there.
Seriously? It hasn't even been a day since you came back to school.
I know, but my parents want me to try living there as soon as possible.
Still, that's really fast. Are you going to be okay?
Of course. But even in the comfort of my best friends, life seemed to keep testing me. Oof.
Hey! Don't go around shoving people like that.
Whoops. Did I strike a nerve, Capini?
She let out a small laugh as she twirled her hair around her finger. Lizette, one of the last people I wanted to see today.
It's not me you should be apologizing to.
Oh, Anderson. Hey, how's it going?
I'm all right.
Haven't you already heard, Lizette?
Of what?
Her grandfather's passing.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I don't really watch a lot of news.
It doesn't really sound like you mean it.
I do mean it. Earnestly. Why wouldn't I?
Typical Capini. Isn't her family involved with the mafia or something? I wouldn't be surprised if she brought out a bat from behind her back right this moment.
I had nearly forgotten the crowd that followed Lizette, which was mostly comprised of people that no one wanted to see on a typical school day. No one had the slightest idea why exactly they followed Lizette around persistently, but they labeled themselves as social equals with her.
That is out of line. Suzu comes from an honest family.
Says the one whose family profits from political scandals.
Yeah, your dad doesn't make anything unless he's in the court with dirty politicians.
Hey, let's all calm down for a second, all right? I'm sure Anderson needs some time to recuperate. I mean, what just happened? We need to give her some respect.
Just stop. Stop acting like that already, like you feel sorry for me.
What are you talking about?
I'm sure you're happy seeing me like this. You already have everything you've wanted, and now seeing me like this, life couldn't get any better. Bitterness seeped into me, and the words started flying out of my mouth without filter. But honestly, I didn't care. I was so consumed by anger that I only saw Lizette in front of me. What exactly am I to you? Just another part of your Obstacle course? Is that what I am? I'm sick of it, Lizette. I'm sick of all these charades. I'm sick of you. Gasps rose from the crowd around her, and I was brought back to the school hallway. Even my friends beside me looked at me in surprise. One girl looked like she was going to speak up, but Lizette held her hand up to stop her. There was an emotion in her face that I couldn't quite make out, but I could see a form of pity in her eyes. No, don't you dare pity me. I looked away from her. I didn't want to see that emotion in her eyes when she was talking to me. She didn't have the right to look at me that way.
I'm sorry. I know your grandfather passing away must have really taken a toll on your emotions.
She stepped towards me and put her hand on my shoulder, giving me a tiny smile, as if for old times' sake. But for some reason, I didn't feel comforted at all. Not that I was just angry at her, but the expression on her face when she leaned in close to me contorted into something complex. Something was different about her. I couldn't quite place my finger on it, but something about her had definitely changed.
Well, I'll be going for now. Track meet responsibilities and all of that stuff. See you later.
Something about Lizette made me feel uncomfortable. I wasn't just angry, but also uneasy. What was it? I'd never seen her like that before. But I decided to pay no further attention to it. She continued running down the hallway with her gaggle of friends behind her. I refocused my attention to Mrs. Phillips, who was walking down the hall toward me.
Is everything all right, girls?
Nothing we couldn't handle, Mrs. P. Just a bunch of snobs.
Suzu, hush! It was nothing, Mrs. Phillips.
I see. Well, Miss Anderson, please accept my condolences for your loss.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips.
Your grandfather was a good man. He really upheld the philanthropy of his company's policies, and the money that went towards charity, too.
I know. He was amazing. I really looked up to him, and I want to be as good as he was.
Well, I know that you'll be as great as your grandfather.
Hell yeah, she will. She'll be 10 times better than her grandfather.
Would I? Would I really be better than my grandfather? Everyone seemed to have high expectations for me. I wanted to do my best and make my family proud. But to be better than my grandfather? I wasn't so sure about that. From outside the school window I saw a familiar blue car pull up to the curb. Undoubtedly it was my father in the driver's seat. Oh, my ride's here. Well, I guess I'll see you both tomorrow.
Want us to come with you?
Oh, no, it's okay. I'll be fine. See you. Hey, Dad.
Hey, honey.
As I got into the car, I noticed my father looked troubled, clutching at his steering wheel and staring straight ahead, as if something was really bothering him.
About what happened yesterday. I'm sorry for yelling at you. Does your cheek still hurt?
No, it's nothing to worry about.
I mean it. I shouldn't have laid a finger on you. You know that you're my most precious daughter. You're all that I have.
Yet he couldn't bring himself to say what he could never say to me for such a long time. I always wanted to hear those words affirm how he really felt, but I guess, even now, he couldn't say it to me. I turned my head away to look out the window. There was no point in waiting for something that was never going to come. And like that, he started to drive, and the conversation between us ended. I decided to focus my attention to the passing scenery. We were taking the usual route to Grandfather's house. It was located within the vicinity of the school district, but it was still pretty far from the school and from where our house was. He had always lived alone. He insisted on doing things by himself, even at his age, living in such a large house. I wondered, did he pass away with no one at his side as well? It sounded so lonely and sad. It was strange that he decided on living all alone in his large estate. If anything, he could have lived with us. Though he and my father probably would have given each other the silent treatment the entire time, maybe living alone was preferable to that. I actually hadn't visited him for quite a while. Visits to his house were most frequent when I was a child, and I had grown up long since then. The last time I visited, though, I thought he looked just as he usually was, happy and healthy. But things change. In the back of my mind I knew that he would have to leave one day. It wasn't like humans could live forever. So why did my heart still feel so heavy? The car ride was mostly spent in silence until he spoke up again.
How was school? Maintaining your grades, I hope.
Yeah, I've been trying my best as of so far.
Trying? That's not really doing the best you can, is it?
With my father, only some words I said were filtered through his ears. It was difficult to keep up a conversation without eventually talking about academics or my future, even if it was something loosely based on it. He always found a way to integrate it whenever we talked.
Anyway, your belongings are in the trunk. There isn't a lot, so I'm sure you can manage bringing them inside the house. After all, you are on the road to being independent now.
Yes, I can manage on my own. The usual silence resumed between us. I really wasn't sure what to say around him, especially when most of the time we didn't share the same opinions. One question did linger in my mind, though. If he was going to justify acting so nonchalant at grandfather's funeral, I had the right to at least know why. Try again or leave it alone. Probably best not to push buttons. There was no use talking to him about this. It would be like reopening a wound or reapplying a bruise. I sighed. He gave me a side glance out of curiosity, but didn't pursue it further. Typical. I leaned against the car door and stared out the window. I really couldn't think. What would this place be like? I'd been to my grandfather's house before, but it was one thing visiting and another thing actually living there. How would I manage living on my own without any training to really care for a house? I knew that naturally the bills would be paid by my parents, who inherited grandfather's stocks to the corporation, but I had never lived independently before. Thinking about it made me feel like some kind of bird being pushed out of the nest. Though I was technically an adult, I felt unprepared and a bit daunted at the prospect of actually moving into a new place. Most people my age would be ecstatic moving out. After all, it would symbolize some kind of change in their lives, like being on the road to independence. But I felt like it was nothing of the sort. I really hoped I wouldn't let my parents down. I wouldn't want to let grandfather down. What would he be saying right now? I gazed up at the passing clouds in the sky. If you're out there, grandfather, how would you be doing? Would there be anything you'd want to tell me at this moment? And of course no answer. What was I doing? Searching for an answer in a heaven that would or would not exist. I ducked my head to stare at the blur of trees and cars from the car window. My head was definitely going into the clouds there at that moment. Either way, I found myself being driven off to my new home. The car rolled to a stop, and I drifted out of my thoughts.
Here we are. Go on in.
All right, tell Mom I love her.
All right.
I love you, Dad. No, make sure to come by and visit us often. No, I'm gonna miss you lots. Nothing other than a blank stare. I paused a bit before reaching for the car door handle, waiting for any form of a goodbye, but he didn't speak again. I sighed and exited the car, hearing my dad pop open the trunk. I saw the 2 large bags I packed last night that were large enough to carry only the things I needed. I took them out, placed one bag on each shoulder, and closed the trunk. He then drove off, leaving me alone in front of the mansion. I watched the blue car fade into the distance of the road before turning to see my new home. There it is. It's huge. My grandfather gave me this. It's hard to believe. The house was framed by a set of tall gates, and I hesitantly pushed them aside to take in the entire estate. The house still looked like it was when I last visited him. At a glance it seemed kind of intimidating with its size, though if I came closer it was clear that there was more to it than that. The brick walls were framed by shrubbery and lovely flowers, giving it a homey and welcoming look, but in contrast the tall doors into the house gave me a feeling of grandeur. Who knew what was waiting for me? But I wouldn't back down at this moment. I took out the key to the front doors and unlocked them. Well, might as well make myself at home. I'll be staying here for quite a while anyways. That's when I saw them. Lying on the floor was a group of men. They were all unconscious, but there was no explanation as to why they were there in the first place. I dropped my bags as I let the door close on its own behind me. Huh? What? Who the heck are these guys? Why are they here? What's going on? Some of them had open wounds. The blood was staining the floor and the scent was intermingling with the air. I couldn't help but feel bad for them instinctively, but nevertheless I was shocked and a bit angry at the sudden intrusion. My mind suddenly went from caring and concerned to confused and demanding answers. Who are you guys? No response. I'll call the police. Still nothing. None of them seemed to be awake to answer or respond to me. It seemed surreal to have random strangers in the house I just moved into, but I wanted answers quickly. That was until... Eep, get away from me.
Woman, you're going to let me kiss you.
I couldn't believe it myself, but within a mere blink of an eye, one of the men went from lying on the floor to being right in front of my face. What was even more odd was the fact I felt serene and calm about it. Slowly a desire burned from my chest, telling me to accept his kiss, even when my mind vehemently refused. Go ahead.
Good.
As he kissed me, I could feel my body go weak. I didn't know why, but that kiss was draining me of my energy, and yet it was so good and made my heart sing. It was a strange and tingling feeling that danced over every nerve on my body. I could feel streams of intangible energy run up my body into my lips. It felt odd, but at the same time it felt amazing.
Sam, stop it.
The person kissing me, Sam was his name, glanced behind him.
I said stop. Now.
Fine.
Finally he pulled back, and I was left standing there in a daze. What? Huh? I couldn't tell what was going on. My mind was completely enwrapped by the kiss and my thoughts that melted into the depths of my forgotten memories.
Please forgive my brother. He's a bit reckless.
At least I feel a hell of a lot better than you right now.
Because you used your abilities on her.
Sam, you're such a reckless brute. Taking advantage of a beautiful young woman like her.
Shut that pretty boy mouth of yours before I rip it off your pretty boy face.
Sheesh, you guys. Can we not fight right now? Not all of us are in the best state.
I guess you are right, Matthew.
I agree.
However, as the men got up and started to chat freely, my thoughts began to reassemble, and I remembered my confusion and anger once again, only now multiplied tenfold. What?
Huh? Did you say something beautiful?
And I exploded. What is going on? Why the hell are you all here in my house? Why are you all wounded? Why did you kiss me? And who are you guys? I couldn't help exploding, but after being taken advantage of and left in a mush state, my words escaped without filter. I definitely scared the men around me, even the man who kissed me. Wait a second. The guy who kissed me?
Ouch! What's your problem?
What's your problem? You can't just go around forcing people to kiss you like that. Are you some kind of pervert?
Pervert? It was only a kiss!
It might mean nothing to you, but it means a lot to me.
What? Was it your first kiss? Ow! Hey! What was that for?
I know first kisses aren't exactly amazing and full of sparkles and something out of a fairy tale, but I at least expected it to be more than just something forced.
So it was your first kiss. Stop making such a big deal out of it.
Are you asking to get punched again?
Well, what do you want me to do? It's not like I can somehow take it back. Ow! You're just being violent now!
You deserved it. Anyway, if you try to pull any funny business in the future, just a fair warning. I know Taekwondo. I think I've bickered enough. Time to get back to the main issue. So, what exactly are all of you doing in my house?
Miss, please forgive us in our intrusion. We didn't know this abode belonged to anyone, nor did we have the time to take that into consideration.
What? What do you mean? You don't just barge into people's houses.
We wouldn't have had to if we weren't as wounded as we are currently. We just escaped from a deadly fight that could have ended our lives. Luckily for us, your home was near and the windows were unlocked, so we quickly came inside.
The last time I remembered, there were laws preventing strangers from stepping onto private property, although, considering the severity of their wounds, it had to be serious. I guess that explains the wounds, but not why he kissed me. He had absolutely no right to do that.
Well, lovely flustered lady, it's hard to explain, truly. We're not exactly normal.
Not normal? What are you guys, demons or something? I asked, almost jokingly, but the boys seemed to take my question differently.
Well, yeah, actually, something like that.
Huh?
We're incubi, miss. Demons who consume and use sexual energy of humans to survive.
Incubi? The fabled demons that existed to haunt humans and make them sex-crazed monsters? The mythological beings that could look like anyone just to get in your pants. The imaginary monsters you only see in TVs or movies.
Hello? Did you hear him?
We're telling the truth.
Do you think she's still processing it?
Yes, and she'll understand right about...
Right. It was funny while it lasted, but it's time to cut the joke short. Incubuses don't exist. There was no way they existed. That would be practically impossible.
Ahem. Incubi is the correct plural form. And yes, we do exist.
Prove it. As soon as the words left my mouth, I instantly regretted them.
Very well. Eric, go ahead.
Very well.
Oh dear.
My sweet, you're so tempting with such non-belief. Let me ease your mind with a tender kiss. I promise you'll enjoy every minute of it. And maybe you'll even want more.
What? No. Once again, I was lost in a pool of calm and serenity. Staring into Eric's eyes, I felt waves of heat course through my chest and onto my face, painting my cheeks red in their wake. I couldn't help but nod and agree to his offer. Yeah, okay. Oh, brother. With another kiss, my heart began to flutter once again in my chest, and my mind was sent spinning in a heated, passion-filled pleasure, yet I could feel my body drain of energy as he kissed me.
All right, that's enough.
Aw, very well. I feel so much better.
As he pulled away, I was left in a mental mush pool. I felt weak in the knees, despite my will demanding me to stand straight in front of the boys before me. The world around me began to spin as I tried to speak. I think I'm going to...
Ah, where are our manners? I'm James, and these are my brothers. Sam, Eric, Matthew, and dainty.
Miss, are you okay?
Shit. She fainted.
I couldn't believe it. Incubi. Real. It all spun around in my head until I saw only black. Floating in the darkness, my mind kept replaying the scene over and over again, reminding my body of the touch of the incubi's lips against mine. However, I began to feel the smooth silk around me and my eyelids unwillingly opened. Where? I woke to find myself in an unfamiliar place. Where was Mom? Dad? I was pretty sure this wasn't my room. Oh wait, I lived at my grandfather's house now. Of course it would be unfamiliar. I rubbed my eyes and surveyed my surroundings. I was still in the clothes I arrived in at the house in, but I was laying in a silk-covered bed. I remembered coming in the afternoon, so why was it nighttime already? Suppressing a yawn, I stretched my arms. Maybe I should order some food for delivery. I was feeling pretty hungry. I was about to sit up, but I suddenly realized that I wasn't alone.
You're awake.
Huh? Gah! Since when was he standing there? And who the heck was he? A guy in my bedroom. Did we... There's no way. Sorry, I think I was saying my thoughts aloud. Why was I apologizing to a stranger who only said 2 words since I woke up? Wait, he looked eerily familiar. Then it all came back to me. Incubus. He was an incubus. He and his brothers came here for refuge, and 2 of them kissed me, and then I fainted, and that was how things came to this. Oh. He was leaning against the far wall, looking at me. My heart began to race as I thought of the endless list of possibilities this situation brought me. I hated the thought of being under an incubus's power, especially in a bedroom. Let's keep calm. I took a deep breath. I was sure that if any of them wanted to take advantage of me, they would have already. Yeah, I'm awake now.
That's good.
I saw a small form of a smile on his face, which made me blush a lot. Why, though? One thing still concerned me, though.
I'm not going to use my powers on you.
Huh? How?
I can read minds. It's an ability I was born with. Each of us has a different ability, outside of our usual mind-altering powers.
Great. Even more surprises. I grew even more worried about the situation I was in. I see. How long have I been asleep?
For a few hours. It's already gotten quite dark outside.
Ah, well, where are the others?
My brothers are downstairs, cleaning up the blood from the lobby floor. And making you dinner as an apology.
Oh, okay. That's unexpectedly sweet.
Oh, it's the least we can do after invading your home, and 2 of us using our powers on you.
You've got a point. Right. I had forgotten about that. It still irked me that they had practically taken advantage of me at this point. Even if they were demons, it was pretty rude to demonstrate their powers by kissing me. I wasn't some kind of human plaything. All of this seemed pretty unreal. It was like something out of those romance novels that Naomi sometimes read. I wished I could have just went back to sleep and forgotten all about this. Maybe I should have called the police on them. Then I would never have landed myself in this situation.
Do you feel well enough to get out of bed?
Yeah, I think so. Whoa.
Trust me, I won't let you go.
Oh, brother. I'm not so sure about this.
I promise.
Okay. I trust you.
Good.
I was speechless. He was carrying me as if I weighed nothing. He was so strong.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
It's all right. I'm used to it.
I decided to close my mouth for the time being so that I wouldn't weird him out or make things more awkward than they already were. Well, he didn't seem to mind carrying me or listening to me talk, so at least things weren't too strange. Damien seemed very quiet and calm about everything, especially with the situation we were in. However, there was a sort of longing in his eyes when he looked at me that wasn't lustful. It was more in admiration. Once we reached the lobby, I decided that I felt well enough to walk on my own. As strong as he was, it was like he was carrying nothing. I didn't want to make him carry me everywhere. Yeah, that would be mortifying. Thanks for carrying me, but I think I can walk by myself now. Not saying that I didn't like it. I mean, I liked it. Not in a weird way, of course. It's not like I get carried around all the time. What I'm trying to say is that it was really nice of you to do that. I started to fumble over my words again, real smooth.
It's no problem. I'll be heading to the dining room then.
All right, see you. He gently lowered me to the ground before he walked off quietly, disappearing into the shadows of the dark lobby.
Oh, hi!
Suddenly, a boy who looked around my age, or possibly younger, bounced up to me. He looked vaguely familiar. Oh, wait. You're Matthew, right?
Mm-hmm, that's me. Are you feeling any better now? We were all worried when you suddenly passed out.
I'm fine.
Really? Your face is kind of red. Do you feel sick?
No, I'm fine, I'm sure of it. I must have been blushing when Damien was carrying me downstairs. How embarrassing.
Well, if you say so. I hope Sam and Eric didn't make you upset.
It's okay. After all, I did hit Sam after what he did, and about Eric, I just wanted you guys to prove to me what you were saying. I suppose incubi are real then. I wondered how exactly I got myself into this mess. First my grandfather, and then a fight with my father, blowing up at Lizette, and now this. I certainly had a knack for getting myself into sticky situations.
Oh, I have an idea.
He shoved his hands into his pockets with a cheery grin on his face.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Is he trying to do a magic trick?
Ta-da!
What is that exactly? He smiled as if to wave it off, but when he opened his eyes and saw what he was holding, his face froze in shock.
Wait a second. What did I just make? This...
What he produced from his pocket was a creepy-looking doll.
Ah, what is that?
I'm not sure. Creepy. It has a knife. His face paled considerably and he dropped it onto the floor, scooting away from it frantically.
Get it away from me! It might be possessed by a demon or something!
But isn't he a demon himself?
That's not what I wanted to make! I just wanted to surprise you with a stuffed animal or just something to cheer you up. That looks like it came straight out of a horror movie.
He slumped his shoulders and looked down at his feet. It's okay. You don't have to look so dejected. I mean, it's certainly unique. You can have it.
What? I appreciate the thought, but no thanks.
That's too bad. Are you sure? I picked up the doll and waved it around him. It was funny teasing him.
Ah! Help! It's gonna kill me!
Alright, I'll stop.
Anyway, I'm heading back to help out with the food. You can come over if you're hungry.
I think I'll go with you then. Something smells good. My stomach rumbled in agreement. I was starving.
Oh, the girl's awake.
Excuse you, I have a name, you know.
Should we really care?
Sam, I will roast that tongue for dinner if it doesn't stop flapping in that idiotic mouth of yours.
Shh. Whatever.
I apologize for his attitude.
Oh, that's fine.
Good. I hope you'll enjoy the meal we prepared for you.
Meal. For a second, my mind didn't understand what James meant. Maybe it was the doll getting into my head and distracting me. Ah, that's right. Damien and Matthew mentioned that they were making dinner as an apology. Oh, wait, you didn't have to.
We insist. Besides, it's quite impossible to undo our cooking, even if you command us to.
All right, well, thank you. Matthew put down the last of the plates on the table and bowed a bit exaggeratedly to me, gesturing to the table with a sweeping motion.
Ah, there we go. Dinner's all served.
The table was filled with various foods from an eclectic selection of cuisines. One portion of the table was filled with elegantly plated Asian foods, and another portion some yummy-looking desserts. And there were yet more and more plates than I could have possibly imagined. Whoa, that's a lot of food, and it all looks good.
We hope you enjoy it, my sweet.
What? Sweet? Me?
That's enough, Eric.
You're no fun, James.
I don't need to be fun, Eric. Miss, please follow me.
I didn't know what came over me, whether it was his politeness or maybe his power, but I couldn't help but take his offered arm. James seemed very kind and intelligent, but aside from that, there was something that set him apart from his brothers. Not to mention he didn't really seem to hold much appreciation for them.
Miss, I have to ask, why do you live alone?
Oh, well, it's kind of a long story.
I'm all ears if you wish to tell.
Let's say sure. To put it briefly, I just moved here today.
That explains the luggage you brought in when you came through the front doors. By the way, we put your belongings in the room you were sleeping in. That seems to be the master bedroom, I believe.
Thanks. This house is really big. I don't think I've even explored the entirety of the estate when I was a child.
You lived here before?
No. Truth be told, this is my grandfather's house. I used to visit him all the time when I was younger.
May I ask why you now live in your grandfather's house?
He actually passed away yesterday. It was bequeathed to me in his will, and I was sent to live here, whether I liked it or not.
My condolences. It seems like you don't like the idea of living here.
It's not that I don't like this house, or that I don't have fond memories of being here. It's just the implications that come with staying at this estate. It's kind of complicated to explain.
How do you feel about it?
I certainly wasn't expecting that question, but in a good way. It was different from what I had heard the entire day at school. I appreciated the fact that he was willing to listen. I feel angry, sad, scared, and confused. It's hard picking out the different emotions that I'm feeling right now. I wish I was stronger.
You don't have to be strong.
What do you mean?
I understand that you're going through a difficult time, so it's okay to feel those emotions. You don't have to be strong at all.
Thank you.
Are you all right? There seems to be a small bruise on your cheek.
He caught me off guard with that comment. I thought no one would have noticed something as small as that. Oh, I'm fine. He stopped and leaned in close, a bit too close for comfort, or maybe it was just me, inspecting my face. He was really quite tall, having to bend over so much to just look at me straight in the face. It was hard to look at him, especially when he was so close. After a few seconds, he straightened up and began walking away.
Well, if you're having any problems, I'm always here to listen.
That's really kind of you to offer that.
My pleasure. Here's your seat.
Let me get your chair for you, lovely lady.
Oh, Eric was very charming, and his smile pulled at my heart. The way he kept flirting with me definitely designated him as the charmer of the demons, yet there was a little distance in his eyes.
By the way, I apologize for my behavior earlier. Stealing your second kiss like that.
Huh? Oh, yeah. When I didn't believe that they were incubi. It's fine, I guess. I mean, you didn't just get up and grab a kiss for no reason.
I'm not as forward, unlike Sam.
Suddenly Eric leaned in and whispered in my ear.
I won't lie, though. I enjoyed kissing you and feeling you melt in my arms.
Oh, brother. I was torn between smacking him and trying to play it cool. Let's just be cool. You sure are quite the charmer.
Yes, I am known for that.
As much as I do appreciate the constant compliments, you don't have to keep talking to me like that.
Like what?
He batted his eyelids as if he had no idea what I was talking about, and I couldn't help but laugh. Well, like you're trying to get into my pants half the time.
I can assure you, I'm just a lover of beautiful women.
Something tells me that there's a lot more to it than that. For a moment he looked away, losing a bit of his smile. Before I could question it, though, he turned back to me with a new teasing smile.
Did you want there to be more?
I didn't want to hit him, but I didn't know how to react, so I couldn't look at him. He merely chuckled again in my ear.
Sorry. You just look so cute when you're blushing.
I felt my face heat up simply from his words. Then I felt Eric take my hand and kiss it gently.
I hope you'll enjoy dinner, however, my dear.
I drew my attention back to the dishes. I was both intrigued and slightly scared by the amount of food they made. Seeing my expression, Eric leaned forward and proudly smiled, gesturing to all of the dishes with a dramatic sweep of his arm.
I made almost all of the dishes myself.
Humorously enough, Matthew looked at him with a shocked expression, as if he was betrayed. His face changed instantly to that of a frown.
And I'm the Queen of the Nile.
What's that supposed to mean?
Me, you, and James did the work together, dummy.
It's you, James, and I, Matthew.
Little boys will always make mistakes.
Matthew looked at James in disbelief, probably for siding with Eric, and he annoyedly swiveled back to Eric to confront him.
I'm not a little boy. I'm barely a year younger than you.
Well, you certainly don't act like it.
I really couldn't help but laugh. Matthew seemed very much like a kid. He was adorable. However, I couldn't help but feel like, in a way, he was much more mature than the others, especially Eric.
Huh? Is something funny?
No, nothing at all. Thank you for the meal, all of you.
Oh, you're welcome, miss.
Such a well-mannered young lady. Beautiful inside and out.
Eric, knock it off!
In agreement with Matthew, Sam cocked his head and glared at Eric.
Seriously, you're getting really annoying with that suck-up act.
It was obviously that Sam was the bad boy of the group. He had this big, tough act, and it was obvious he was physically stronger than the rest of the guys. But was there more to him than that?
I'm just trying to be a gentleman. The young girl has already gone through so much. She deserves a good treatment.
There's a difference between being a gentleman and being an obnoxious flirt.
Schooled even by James. You're gonna need some cold water for that burn.
By the way, I don't believe we caught your name even though you know each of us.
I'm Kat.
It's a pleasure to finally know your name.
Yeah, that's a nice name.
Of course it is. They were all comfortable around me, despite the awkward situation we were in. It was as if it were natural for them to be around humans. I guess that was just how incubi worked. But I was still curious about one thing. Excuse me. All at once they looked at me. I didn't know why, but having all of them look at me made me feel kind of important, like a queen or something.
What is it, miss?
I wanted to thank you for the food, but I still want to know why you all came here. I feel like I don't quite understand. Understand? Yeah, like being told that a bunch of incubi randomly appearing in your house was perfectly understandable.
Oh, how do we explain?
We were attacked. We came here to heal. What's so difficult to understand?
Now you're just being rude, Sam.
I'm just saying, how is that difficult to understand?
No, I mean, what specifically happened?
Well, You see, we've been traveling around for quite some time now. Just recently we came into town, but we were jumped by this band of misfits. So, in order to escape and heal, we came here for shelter. Again, we apologize for the mess we made.
It's fine, I guess. So you're all better now, right?
Yup, all thanks to you.
Huh? Me?
You see, beautiful, we feed on sexual energy. But we don't just get it from kissing lovely ladies such as yourself. We can simply touch someone's hand to obtain sexual energy. Everyone carries sexual energy, you know.
I was still in shock about their powers. It wasn't just kisses that gave them power, it was anything physical. No wonder I was out for a while. These incubi intrigued me, but at the same time, I could almost hear a warning siren go off in my head.
Is there anything else you wish to know?
Well, what do you all plan to do now?
Yeah, what are we gonna do now, James?
That is a very good question. We just got here and surely we'll be hunted again if we leave.
We can take him easily.
Not without more training, Sam. The result of that was clearly evident in our last encounter with them.
At that moment, I didn't know what came over me, but I suddenly felt sorry for them. They couldn't possibly survive out there if they didn't know it was illegal to break into people's homes. They probably didn't know a bunch of other stuff. They probably would cause chaos all over town. Or, on the flip side, they could be taken in for questioning and be poked and prodded like lab frogs for research. That was even worse. But most of all, they reminded me of back then. I was standing alone. The entire classroom was filled with laughter and chatter, but I stood in the midst of it, quiet and alone. It was strange seeing the whole world pass in front of me with such vibrancy, all while I stood there. On the plus side, I wasn't engaged in any of the drama that might have arisen, like scribbling on someone's paper for revenge or kicking someone too hard. It was kind of nice just standing back and watching things pass by and life go on. I had long before convinced myself that I preferred being alone. I often said to myself in encouragement, yeah, I want to be alone. There's no one I like better than me, so I ought to spend more time with myself. But there was a certain bitterness that, coupled with being alone, made me feel so sad. There was a difference between being alone and lonely. I just didn't realize it in that moment. And even after that moment, my father, my mother, there was no one to turn to. I was so lonely. That's when I decided on it right then. I was going to see my grandfather. I didn't care if my father wouldn't take me. I was going to walk my way over there and see what he had to say about it. I had never met him before that. What better time to see him then? If no one else was going to help me with what I was feeling, I might as well have turned to him. So after school I decided to walk there. I had no idea how to get there, and I was armed with only a scrap of paper with the address scribbled on it. As a 7-year-old, I obviously had great ideas. I soon became lost, and like I always did when I felt lost, I just stood there on the sidewalk, back pressed up against the wall, and eyes looking at strangers passing by. And like always, people continued to pass by and life continued to go on. I was sadder than ever. I'd ended up in the situation I was originally in. Nothing had changed, though I thought I was silly for even thinking that I could change things with my own hands. That was until a voice brought me back to reality.
Hun, is that you?
I looked up and saw an unfamiliar face, but it was obviously that whoever was talking to me knew who I was. And from that moment things began to change. Life began moving its rusty joints, and I realized that things were moving along. Suddenly I had become part of the crowd that moved like a blur past me. I was no longer someone who stood still and watched others hurry past me. Life had changed. I had changed. Because the very person who found me on that day was my grandfather. I had the opportunity to help them, though would I? I wanted to, but I wasn't sure if that was the best idea. After all, 5 demons in my house wasn't exactly the living arrangement that I had imagined when I first moved in. There was the matter of making sure no one found out about their powers. Thinking about them as lab rats made my stomach queasy. And even if they passed for humans, how would I explain having guys living in my house? Imagine if my friends came over. They would practically think I was part of a harem or something. Oh God, imagine if my parents came over. I think my mom would faint. Who knows what my dad would do? I think he would have them arrested on the spot. Ugh, this was hard. Maybe I should have written out a pros and cons list before actually having to make the decision.
Don't worry too much about it. You have plenty of time to decide. Besides, you should do what makes you happy as well.
It was strange that I happened to remember what my grandfather said to me when I was little, but it did kind of make sense. They weren't the same exact situation that I was in before, but I did want to help them out. I think it would ease my conscience and also make me a bit happy to give them help, as weird as that sounded. Clenching my hands into fists, I strengthened my resolve to speak up. Well, you could.
What was that, lovely lady?
That is,
Spit it out already.
You could stay here with me if you like. As soon as I finished my sentence, the room became still. I'm not sure what went through their heads from my words. The silence in the air cut like a knife until I finally spoke up once more. It seemed like you all needed a place to stay, and well, I just moved into this giant house, so it seemed like it made sense. It was still quiet in the room. I decided to keep talking. If you'd like to stay here, though, there are 2 things that I need all of you to follow.
Yes?
First of all, you can't use your powers or deliberately do something that might harm me or any guest that comes over. Well, save for enemies, but you get the drift.
That sounds reasonable.
Second, you have to help me with any errands around the house. This place is kind of big, so yeah.
That is a generous offer, miss. Are you sure that would be okay? We don't wish to burden you any more than we already have.
It's all right, really. I mean, I just started living here myself, so I would appreciate some help around the house.
A wonderful idea. We'll live here and train while helping you with the house. Servants for the lovely princess.
What? Are you serious?
Shh, be quiet, Sam. I haven't slept in a bed for days.
They all seemed to like the idea, except for Sam, and hey, I didn't really hate the idea either, even if they were incubi. It would be interesting having 5 guys help me with taking care of the house, given they would follow the rules I had just laid down.
Grr, fine, but we're not staying here forever. Only until we can beat up that group of punks.
I think that is a reasonable time limit for our stay.
Yes, this is awesome.
Also beautiful. If you need a bedfellow.
Eric, knock it off.
I was happy that they agreed. Maybe because I wasn't going to be lonely for a while. Maybe it was because they all needed help and my want to help people was fulfilled. I would never be sure.
So what are we waiting for? Let's celebrate and dig in.
Finally, I'm starving.
Instantly, Matthew and Sam began to stuff themselves with the food on the table. I noticed James's eye twitching in irritation, so I stifled my incoming laugh.
Really, you two? You're both acting like pigs.
Oh, let them have a little freedom, James. It's not like we've eaten recently either. I'm sure they've been starving.
Still, that's no excuse for stuffing their faces like backyard swine.
I almost couldn't hold it in. So then, I looked back at Damien, who had been silent the whole time. He was leaning against the far wall, moving his lips almost silently to the empty space beside him. Out of curiosity, I looked the same way, though I found nothing there.
It's nothing.
Huh? I looked back to see Damien looking at me with his normal blank face. I couldn't help but stare back, feeling the red tint of embarrassment spreading across my face. As I stared, Damien gave a very small smile and closed his eyes, returning to his thoughts. Eventually, we all ate dinner together. It was strange, eating with just guys, but they were enjoyable to be around. They made me feel like part of their family as we ate together. However, our peace was soon disturbed. This is where we'll stop this part of the story for tonight. And we'll be back with more soon. If you liked it, make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will be back soon. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.